Welcome, everyone. And we're just going to take a moment to land here together, to arrive and take some breaths, to be grateful. There will be 8 of us who will share tonight with you our reflections from our contributions to this book, Shamanic Journey into Earth's Wisdom, a book that arose from our 2022 conference based on chapter 15 of Thomas Berry's book, The Dream of the Earth. And we hope you enjoy our time together. So we have a process that I'd like to just briefly review with you. During our time together, we will have 4 of us sharing for 3 minutes each, and that will be followed by a question and a pause, and then we will place you into pairs in breakout rooms for about 5 minutes, and then we will return together for a large group sharing 10 minutes. And then we'll repeat the process with 4 more of us sharing for 3 minutes each. And we'll have a pause, a question, and breakout rooms in pairs again, coming back for a large group response. And then we'll have a closing blessing. So that will be our process for our time together. So I will begin. I'm going to be the first person presenting. And I'd like to begin by bringing forward my key idea from the introduction to the book. And that idea that I'd like to share from Thomas Berry is that our cultural coding has lost its integrity and can no longer be trusted. It is necessary, he said, to go beyond our cultural coding to the wisdom and intelligence of our genetic coding. And we have no other source of guidance that possesses such inherent authenticity or which can function as a true norm for our actions into the future. And when Thomas Berry speaks of our cultural coding, he's meaning our deeper spontaneities, spontaneities such as care, protection, and safety, care for the young, protection of the community, and safety for our life systems. So I think that this fundamental insight of his around touching into our deeper spontaneities from the genetic coding, especially those around care, safety, and protection, is essential for guiding us into our world of AI. And I have about 3 different aspects or so, but the first one that I'd like to look at is the fact that the AI systems are housed in data centers. And these data centers have a voracious appetite for minerals, electricity, and water. A single data center can consume up to 5 million gallons of water a day, enough to supply thousands of households. So we need to look at the data centers themselves. Our own use of energy is having an impact through the data centers on the planet in terms of resources, emissions, and carbon footprint. Secondly, the question of who is programming AI. And these programs will determine the future regarding safety and protection and care. At the moment, these powerful systems are being built by for-profit companies with a desire to maximize profit. They aren't being built by those with a deep wisdom that drawing from the deep wisdom of our genetic coding in service of a transformed human-Earth relationship. And finally, we're already passing planetary safety boundaries in terms of climate change, chemicals, and smart weapons, to name a few. And so, how to return to our genetic coding to address safety issues that around AI, particularly that may be unleashed into our world into the future. So that is my time. And I will pass this on now. We'll take a moment and then I will pass it on to Holly. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm grateful to be part of this reflective project. And the insight I'd like to share with you from my chapter called Milkweed Moments is Thomas Berry's core instruction in The Dream of the Earth. He wrote, "We need to go to Earth and ask for its guidance." This truth is not a metaphor, but a daily practice and devotion. Earth is here, inviting us to tune in our awareness and to listen daily, especially in these chaotic times. In my chapter, I share about receiving guidance to become fluent in a non-human language after sitting in silence on an island in Maine for 10 hours as a part of a 5-year journey. Thomas had seeded an idea that stuck in me. He noted that we have become a singular species talking only to itself. That hit home in me as a lover of languages who has understood that what gets lost in translation is the DNA of a culture. I believe Thomas is asking us to engage with Earth as sacred text and wisdom keeper and companion. So as I go to the Earth, Milkweed has become my core mentor. I didn't plan to become fluent in Milkweed, nor have I become, but she showed up and surprised me in my perennial garden. She reminds me that I am not in charge of timing or planning or planting. Milkweed guides me to focus on what is at my doorstep. No need to travel too far. She mentors me to offer nourishment to the world in small gestures of care and kindness without needing to track or know exactly what is seeded or grown or accomplished. Just keep offering abundantly. This is hard in our world driven by deliverables. Data is important, but it can also steer us to relating to the world solely transactionally rather than relationally. By going to the Earth for guidance, we focus our intention on relations. What holds us, what nourishes us, what helps us breathe. Given we humans are a part of the Earth, I believe it is in the cross-pollination of the wisdom of many species that we find our way. So I invite you to follow Thomas's guidance and go to the Earth and learn from the many species we share this place and this time with. Thank you and good listening.
There are two key concepts in this essay by Thomas. First is the notion of the shamanic personality. Thomas recognized the great peril the Earth community was facing and called for the emergence of the shamanic personality, a personality which speaks and understands the language of Earth's creatures. He clarifies that although the term shaman brings to mind specific persons usually associated with indigenous tribes, he is not speaking of shaman in that context. Rather, he is asserting that within each one of us resides a shamanic dimension. He contends that it is that shamanic dimension that is waking up in men and women around the planet who are taking serious responsibility for becoming mutually enhancing members of the Earth community. Thomas believes that it is the shamanic dimension which enables us to see the big picture, the universe story, and gives us the capacity to embrace a deep love and connection to the natural world, which leads to gratitude for being part of this evolutionary process and increases our sense of responsibility for all. He challenges us to develop this shamanic personality and to look for Earth for guidance. He reminds us that deepening our own relationships with others and the natural world allows us to hear the voices of the other than human. What can we learn from the trees and plants, from the animals, from flowing waters and majestic mountains? Each has something to teach us, he tells us, if we are willing to listen. The second major concept is incendence. This is a word coined by Thomas to indicate the impulse not to rise above Earth, transcendence, but to climb into it and seek its core. He believes that through this movement, we will enter our own interiority and discover ourselves at the deepest level. He believes that at this moment in history, humanity is called to ascend as a species, not only as individuals, in order to rediscover our proper role in creation. It is an invitation to us to enter into a journey of transformation, which calls for a higher level of consciousness. He believes that this will thrust us into the heart of creation and be a constant reminder of our connectedness to all elements of creation. There's a Native American tale which I think reflects so truly what Thomas is trying to tell us. And it says, a long, long time ago, before anyone can remember, people actually did live in harmony with each other and with Earth. But gradually they separated themselves from the oneness which they knew. And the elders of the tribe became greatly concerned because they felt it was so important to preserve the harmony which the Creator had given us. And so they decided to gather up all that wisdom until such a time as the people were ready for it. And once they did, they gathered in conference to decide, where shall we hide it? One person said, I know a cave that has so many caverns, perhaps we can hide it there. And then they decided, no, these people like to go where they don't belong, and surely one of them will bring it up before it's time. A second said, I know a lake that's so deep no one's seen the bottom, perhaps there. Another one said, no, again, these people like to fish, and surely someone will bring it up before it's time. Now, the elders were greatly frustrated because they knew how important it was to preserve this dignity, but didn't know where to hide it, until the eldest woman of the tribe spoke up and said, let's hide it inside of them. They'll never think to look there. And I think that is what Thomas is calling us to look within. I think that right now, as we face chaos in so many areas of our lives, that Thomas's writings extend to each of us an invitation to discover the mystic within ourselves. For that is what I believe is our shamanic dimension, and enter into a profound partnership with all of creation to see ourselves as part of an incredible cosmic reality.
Thank you, CJ. Okay, we'll take a moment. And then our fourth reflector in this contributor in this section, and then we'll break up into groups, is Bernadette. So Bernadette, go ahead. Unmute.
Okay. Hi, everyone. When I read what Gail wanted us to do, to look back at the book and something from our chapter. So I was looking through mine again, and I'm just going to read what I thought was kind of pertinent at this time, because we're in just such a, I'm going to call it a crazy time, and a hard time. But each chapter of human history produces an art of its own that can never be repeated. Given this great task, artists, as shamanic personalities, must feel and be the heartbeat of the time they are born into. Although we can copy different pieces from various periods of art, we can never know the heart of the matter. What might have been a shamanic wisdom of the past cannot be fully understood or embraced today. And I'm out in California right now, and I went to the Museum of Tolerance yesterday, and there were questions on the wall that kind of fed right into this. And one of them was, it asked, who are we? You know, and that kind of took me back. And it was like, you know, we are human. Our path connects, and sometimes they clash. We are both chaotic and beautiful, you know. So I was reading this and thinking about art and Thomas's words, and I always come back to an understanding that art has the transformative power to transcend conventional discord and tap into the emotions, values, and beliefs of a society. Through various mediums, be it painting or sculpture or performance art, or even multimedia installations, artists evoke emotional responses that can inspire individuals to become advocates for, well, just with what we've been working on is environmental protection, which is really, it's scary right now. And art serves as a mirror reflecting both the splendor of life and the dire consequences of our human action. It can be beautiful. It can also spell out what's going on in ways that words sometimes cannot do. And I go all the way back. I'm sure most of you who are readers may know the name Saul Bellows. Bellow, it's not with an S. He, in his acceptance speech when he received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1976, he said, "Only art penetrates what pride, passion, intelligence, and habit erect on all sides. The seeming realities of this world. There is another reality, the genuine one, which we lose sight of. This other reality is always sending us hints, which, without art, we cannot receive. The true impressions, our persistent intuitions will, with art, hidden from us, and we will be left with nothing but a terminology for practical ends, which we falsely call life." And I think that fits right in with what Holly was also talking about, going to the source, which is Earth itself. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Bern. So now we've heard from four, and take a moment just to maybe jot a few things down. You just heard from Bernadette, and then we're going to go into breakout groups of two for 5 minutes and just share with your partner anything that is coming up for you, maybe key ideas that you heard. So there were four of us, myself, Holly, CJ, and Bernadette. And there's a lot that we shared collectively in this time. So just share with your partner what's coming up in you. And then we'll return to the big group, large group and do a 10 minutes of large group sharing. So Maria, would you put us into groups of just pairs of two and time us for 5 minutes? Thank you. Okay,
good.
welcome back, everyone. Welcome
Yeah.
back. So we have 10 minutes that Maria will time, and let us know, Maria, when the 10 minutes is complete, for us to just open up the space. What did you hear in your small breakout there, or anything you heard that's coming up in you during the presentations of the four? So just to unmute and place that out there for us to hear. Yes,
We
Celia.
we were
Oh,
sharing.
Pat Monahan, and then Celia.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
good to, we were just holding together the incomprehensibility of what's happening, the immensity of it all, and even to wonder where do you begin? And of course, we concluded that when in doubt, ask the earth. And Thomas was so beautiful in his expression of doing that. But I find that in my own life, asking the earth is a big help to me.
Thank you, Pat. Celia. Celia, you have to unmute.
I was struck by the word incend instead of transcend. I'm not familiar with that word, and that makes a whole lot of sense to me, because transcend is over. It's above, and we're all trying to be something else, but we can't be only who we are and how we are, and in relationship and in reciprocity with all beings.
Thank you, Celia. And I did forget to mention that the contributors were taking their cue from chapter 15 in Thomas Berry's book, The Dream of the Earth. And that is where he is talking about incendence. So if you'd like to, go into that chapter, that would give you even more depth of perspective, build on what we've all jumped into. Thank you, Celia. Anyone
Thank you.
else have something to share?
Okay, I will say something. May I?
Go ahead.
I was lucky to the person I partnered with is Bill, and I was so happy to meet the publisher. And he spoke about two things: the idea of going back to the earth, and he said there's not a lot of leverage, but he said just stay where we are. And he gave his own examples of how he is living these two things. He said he walks a lot on the earth. He plays a lot of music. And he believes in not fighting, just fighting about politics and all that's going on, the chaotic confusion that politics creates in the world. But he just enjoys nature. That was his sharing. I'm sure Bill will share what I shared. So I'm just sharing what I heard and learned and enjoyed hearing Bill.
Thank you, Mudita. Then I think Bill, you have, and then
I got
CJ.
called out from Mudita, so yes. We had this in common, that we both felt that the call to return to the earth was very important to us. And Mudita talked about how she has multiple conversations every day with nature, with birds and plants. And we have that in common too. There's so much new research out about what plants know and what they do, and how they communicate. And she said she doesn't have much access to AI, and I thought that was a good thing. But heard this love of the earth. She did say that art works as a mirror for us, so that as we do art, as we practice our artistic endeavors, it can mirror back who we are and what we care about. I think I got that right, Mudita. So it was a pleasure to talk with you too.
Thank you, Bill. CJ.
Well, hi again, Bill. We accidentally met here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I was pretty scared, actually.
Winnie and I were talking, and I think one of the things that we looked at was that all of these ideas came from a single chapter in his book. Just one single chapter. How much wisdom he imparts to us with his writings, that we got so much out of a single chapter in a book.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, CJ. And Danny.
Two words that stay with me from my sharing with Holly. relationships, which is something that Thomas really highlights the importance of relationships. And we also mentioned personality. And those two things lack when you consider the AI. No personality in AI and no relationship possible with AI.
Thank you, Danny.
And I would like to just say one more thing about AI that I'm sure many of you know, but everybody's upset about it. But being out here with artists and writers, what they call it is a giant plagiarizing app that it doesn't really have original thoughts. It just reconfigures words and spews them back to us in a different configuration. And when you think of it that way, as it's not original art, original thoughts, that it's actually something regurgitated from many different sources, you start to realize all that energy being spent for something that doesn't really push us forward. It's just a thought.
Okay, thank you, Bern. Marilyn.
There are actually two kinds of AI, and the one we're familiar with, but out of China has come another one where, in order to get the fastest result, the AI switches from one language to another and contemplates different algorithms in different languages. And so human minds cannot keep up with this, and there's no paper trail. And if we allow this faster AI to be produced rather than the AI that we now somewhat understand and can direct, that we will become slaves to the AI itself. That's one issue. And the other issue is, do you know of anybody who is protesting the tremendous use of water that AI will take?
Well, thank you, Marilyn. And Marilyn and everyone, SOE is hoping the core committee is going to be talking about arranging for a session or some sessions that we could come together on and get into this more in detail. So we could continue the conversation. But thank you, Marilyn, for your comments. And is there someone else, anyone else that would like to share? Ami?
Well, thank you. Hi, everyone. I was with Rosemary, but the conversation mostly she asked questions, but based on her question, I got the sense, and I don't know how all of you are experiencing this, about how to bring humanity back into our role as Earthling and awaken our genetic code. And she asked, do you think what you are with what you are doing and giving talking to people, but I was telling her, I need to be honest that sometimes when we're talking about this matter, I'm dealing with, like, suddenly I am facing the wall that the person do not even understand what I'm talking about. And then the transformative power feels like it's not there. And then I feel like I got lost. But I was so happy when Holly mentioned about the guidance from the milkweeds, that we have no control over time, and what we can do is only scatter the seeds and let the power of the universe work on the seeds, when it will grow, when it will flourish, and so forth. Thank you so much for your question, Rosemary.
Thank you, Ami. And Joyce?
I'm soaking this all up and thinking about the ways that Earth speaks to us in this unique way. And I've always thought of Earth as whispering and singing, but more recently with hurricanes and forest fires and the recent hurricane we had here in the mountains in Virginia, where we don't usually have hurricanes, that the earth is now beginning to scream at mankind and speak louder and louder and louder.
Thank you, Joyce. Okay, so let's just take a moment of just a few breaths. I'd like to invite you to just stand up wherever you are. Stand up in your place and just feel your feet. You might move around. Just take a spin around your room. Don't go too far because we're going to start again. But stretch out. Just give your body a little bit of a break. Okay, start making your way back. Okay, so now we will begin our next section with four of our great contributors, and we'll begin this next section with Winnie. So let's see if Maria, you're here. Okay, so thanks for timing, Maria. Winnie, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. The title of my essay is The Comprehensive Wisdom of Thomas Berry, a New Integration for Our Time. And the main thrust is that Thomas has an extraordinarily expansive vision that I would say is highly relevant for our chaotic times. The essay underscores the stunning scope of Thomas's vision, and it does so by comparing it to the integral approach of Ken Wilber. I'm not going to talk about Ken Wilber here. I'll focus on Thomas Berry. Thomas reminds us that we have very complex problems facing us and our planet. And despite an astounding range of human capabilities and expertise, we can't seem to solve them. Thomas would say the problem is that so much of human knowledge and wisdom, while claiming to offer truth, is really only partial. In other words, any human expertise or wisdom that focuses on only one particular portion of overall reality cannot be sufficient. We need an evolutionary shift to integral consciousness. Pay attention to the number of times Thomas Berry uses the word integral. According to Thomas, it's not that we need to include more, it's that we need to learn how to see differently. This is where Thomas's genius lies. His embrace, his language, his consciousness are intuitively comprehensive and holistic. In one paragraph, he's able to speak of our deepest subjectivity, our biological and genetic coding, our cultural context, all within the living processes of Earth and the grand physical structure of the universe. So, how is this relevant to navigating our chaotic times? Thomas would say that we need to start with the interconnected whole, that our problems seem chaotic and intractable because we don't yet have a wide enough perspective. Bad news comes to us daily. It's easy to get bogged down in the weeds, but what Thomas is reminding us is that we need to learn to see differently, to lift our sights and see the big picture. Partial truths won't suffice. We need to take the long view, the wide view, the deep view, the holistic view. We need an evolutionary shift to integral consciousness. I would suggest it's precisely this kind of comprehensive vision and wisdom that will help us navigate these chaotic times.
Thank you, Winnie. Thank you so much. And let's take a moment to just let that sink in. Okay, so now I'd like to invite Mudita.
I want to screen share my 3-minute. Okay, thank you. A key insight from my contribution, Breaking Point Acting Now, the Thomas Berry way, is that this is a moment of grace. And you'll ask me why? Because we are transitioning from the post-industrial era to the ecological age. However, this transitioning is not coming easy. In fact, it is the bitter moment which the global prophet Thomas Berry prophesied in 1988 in his book, The Dream of the Earth. It is being experienced all over the world even today, 37 years later, today in 2027. Climate change and weather changes continue to create havoc all around. Our struggle to cap warming at 1.5 degrees Celsius by rewiring our economy and upgrading our democracy has not made much progress. As a result, the universe is emerging slowly, though through a very hard and painful process, like the birth pangs of a difficult childbirth. To quicken the pace of this transition, we humans as co-creators and as integral members of the Earth community need to participate in the grand liturgy of the universe through intentional living of geo-justice and the emergence of integral ecology in our own lives. We also need to realize that we can never do alone all that is possible for us to do together. Not my words, Thomas Berry. To expedite matters, we need to slow down, have fun, awaken the shamanic dimension of our own personality, acknowledge creation as the icon of God, understand the universe as our primary teacher, and learn from her, the apostolate of the year, as Pope Francis calls it. Here, Otto Scharmer's generative listening and generative speaking of his new theory are ideal. For this, we need incendence and not transcendence, the gene and not the brain. In order to mature into an authentic species, we humans need to explore our sacred humanity and our sacred presence in these chaotic times. Using the earth with 1 minute, I got it, it's covered up, with intelligence to live in the great cathedral of creation, navigating mutually enhancing human-earth relationships and thus transitioning into a liberated, celebratory life as subjects in this universe. We all have to choose to be happy with whatever we have and go within. Thank you. That's my sharing.
Thank you, Mudita.
Thank you. Welcome.
Lovely. Let's take a moment. And now we hear from Beth.
Thank you, Gail. And greetings, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. My name's Beth Blissman, and I did a chapter on Thomas Berry and the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And instead of sharing my screen, I'm going to go old school here just to give you a graphic of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Here they are, beautiful, colorful, and I will put a link to them in the chat. The idea is they are pathways for us to live in peace and prosperity within the boundaries of the planet. And for me, I first heard Thomas speak back when I was a graduate student in the early 1990s. And one of the things Thomas said at that particular gathering of the American Academy of Religion in Washington, D.C. in 1993 that has always stuck with me. Thomas noted that we have ethics for homicide and suicide and even genocide, but not for biocide or ecocide. Fortunately, with the advent of the Earth Charter and other work and other declarations, including Laudato Si, that reality is changing, but still far too slowly. And as others have mentioned, Thomas consistently reminds us that the universe is primary, humans are derivative. Another quote of his that has really stuck with me, it's helped me understand a systems view of life. When Thomas talks about the human being is less a being on the earth or in the universe than a dimension of earth and indeed of the universe itself. As Brian Swim likes to say, human beings are the earth with the ability to sing opera, right? We are earth. We are universe coming into existence. And Thomas's work and the work coming out of Green Mountain Monastery has been a strong part of my spiritual journey. Because how do we live into this wider view of the world, right? Embracing the different world religious traditions, embracing indigenous wisdom, embracing, and let me point out the obvious to all of us for a minute here, the wisdom of the feminine. Sisters of Earth, in all its beautiful wisdom of over 30 years now, emerged within a very heteropatriarchal institution of the Holy Roman Catholic Church. And so even within these hierarchies and strictures, we see liberative things blooming and emerging. And noting that structure too, I would like us to take just a brief moment as well to send positive energy to Pope Francis at this time when he is facing some very serious health challenges. And I will conclude with that, because we're all interconnected in ways we're just now beginning to understand.
Thank you so much, Beth. Okay, now we have Orla.
Thank you, and hello. So the primary revelation for me in reading the chapter again was Thomas's mentioning of our genetic coding. And so I've always been thinking about, somatic ways of knowing, narrative ways of knowing. And I was always struck by, in the process of coming to know, as we all know ourselves as coming from the cosmos and connected with Earth, why I hadn't known that before. And obviously because part of this Cartesian way of thinking. And So when I'm hearing everybody speaking about their experience of communion and connection and learning, I go back to my formation at Fordham in my field of religious education. So how do we come into not a technocratic society, but a mythopoetic one? And so automatically we kind of veer over to indigenous communities. And what is that to be part of a mythopoetic community, one that's grounded in a story and then celebrates that in communion and ritual and song? So we have our common story now. So we have our myth, and the poesis part. The poesis part is self-making, which poets know so often and are able to, as Bernie was saying, the art force to bring it forward. So what is our genetic coding? What do all our selves have? And the window pane behind Gail and the icons, what is all of that bringing us into? So the universe, as our primary educator and genetic donator, does this through the process of cosmogenesis. And differentiation, that's our experiential matrix. And the autopoiesis part is the self-making. When we go inside our ascendance, what comes out? What wisdom comes out when we pay attention to our interiority? That's the crucial difference between the Cartesian way and the mythopoetic way, is being able to connect to our interiority, the source with earth and the cosmos. And then the communion, being back in communion again. And that's not just one-time revelation. It's going on, as we know, all the time. So that really struck me, that what's our genetic inheritance? And then how do we open the day, walk out the door each day and embrace it, and learning from whatever we see in front of us, the milkweeds, the guinea hens, the tuk-tuk driver, the horns, and what we're faced with now with this emerging fascist regime in the US and its implications all over the planet. It's just ridiculous seeing it playing itself out here from one lie. Thank you for being in communion together.
Thank you so much, Orla. And we'll take a moment here. So just let this roll around. We heard from Winnie. We heard from Mudita. And then Beth and Orla. So there's a lot here to integrate in, and we're going to help that process by just meeting with another partner. Maria, can you put us into groups of 2 for 5 minutes again, just so we can help process a bit? Thank you. Okay, welcome back, everyone. And we just have 10 minutes of time. Well, let's make the most of our last 10 minutes together. We have these 10 minutes to share. And after that, we'll do a closing blessing together. And then we look forward to our next time. So, Beth, let's start us off.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
you. So I had a lovely conversation with Rosemary, and we were talking about where we found grounding and hope, and through gardens and oak trees and growing things and food systems. It was a great conversation. And another place that I didn't get time to talk about was the fact that my life right now is prepping for the UN Commission on the Status of Women, which is coming up in just 2 short weeks. And I'm bringing a delegation of 42, including 24 high school girls, mostly from the US Midwest, to UN headquarters here in New York City. So please pray for me, first of all. And secondly, I'll put a link into the chat if anyone wants to jump in on our virtual delegation. You'd be more than welcome. We're going to do an orientation to that at 8 p.m. on Thursday evening of this week. And basically, we just supply you with lots of information, and you're pretty much on your own to check it out. And we'll get together at the end and reflect. So thank you for a lovely evening, Gail, for putting this together. And thanks to all the fellow contributors. And may we continue to explore the impact of Thomas's wisdom in so many ways, and our own wisdom.
Thank you, Beth. Okay, Joyce.
Danny and I talked about batting back and forth because of all of our lives between our own small story and getting back to the big story. And then we get pulled back into the small story and try to reach back into the big story. And I just want to add to what Beth said. Every presentation tonight has just been like one more polished facet of the gem of this topic. And I'm so grateful for each of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce.
Can I go?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
I just couldn't find the thing to put my hand up.
Okay.
Bill and I were talking, and we both resonated with what Mudita said about, yes, it's hard. Everything going on now is horrible. It's heinous. We can give it all those kinds of adjectives, but we have to keep our joy. We have to be able to laugh. We have to be able to dance and keep a lightness to our spirit, or we'll be no good to anyone. And Bill and I were commenting on that because we were talking together. So I think joy is a really big piece of all of this.
Thanks, Bern and Bill. Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. Thanks to Bern for our brief conversation, sharing, and Mudita for your wonderful calling out happiness and having fun. Before we go, I just want to let folks know that your book is very popular on our digital archive. I told Sister Gail last week that there have been 1,500 views and about 300 downloads. But I just looked just now, there are now 1,600 views and 420 downloads. So people around the world are going to your work and reading it and feeling joy, feeling gratitude. So well done, everybody. Well done.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for inviting me too.
Yeah, we're so happy you came. Anyone else? Holly.
Well, I wanted to thank Marilyn. I had a lovely conversation with her, and she was sharing about the milkweed being encourageable. And so I love that. I love that call to action of let's continue to be encourageable and a little unruly, and we can't be contained, but go with that. It's that joy, it's that life. It's life. We need to keep being life. So thank you, Marilyn, for invoking the call to encourageability within all of us.
Can I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
My partner was Celia Duria from California, and I love talking to her. We spoke about this ascendance and transcendence, ascendance and not transcendence. We spoke also about the dark night of the soul and the Kali Yuga that we talk about in India. So there was a lot of exchange of what she experiences in the West and what I experience in the East. That was beautiful. And the reciprocity between, both these sides, which make up a whole, and which the word that Thomas Berry has coined, ascendance and not transcendence, of going within. Look out for things within the Atman, not outside there in the world, because everything is already there in the genetic coding, which has come down from generations. We on the shoulders of ancestors for so many billions of years. So I think that was a wonderful sharing. Thank you, Gail, for this session. God bless.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to before the bell goes off?
Yeah,
This is your
I
time.
would.
Go ahead, Orla.
I would. Yeah, yeah. I just want to, we all think about technology, have different concepts or resistance against technology. However, it is bringing us all together. And I would really like to thank Bill for offering his agency for dispersing all of this wisdom across the network. And like on Deep Time, our schools are failing us. So how can we do this stuff online? It's a huge platform that we can make communion together. If we can't make it at the local level, we put our strengths up on the through the network and circumvent all of these silly shutdowns.
Thank you, Orla. Yes, Maria.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Maria. I'm from Argentina. This is my first time joining a session, so thank you very much for having me. Well, I wanted to thank you all for this session. Really, it was really inspiring. I'm very happy I could join, and I think that well, I have to get deeper into these things. But for me, it was really inspiring. And as I got to share with, I don't remember now, so with where is Amy? And well, I got to share. And well, I'm very, very happy. For me, it was, as I could share it, it was some of these things that I'm naming things that I've been having the intuition. Now a lot of things make a lot of sense. I have my own personal journey with eco spirituality. For me, it's also something relatively new from some years ago. But through all my life, I've been living a very close relationship with nature. So now, like joining my relationship with nature in a spiritual way for me is very important, and also because of my pastoral work here in Indonesia and well also in Argentina. So well, thank you very much. I'm from Argentina, but I'm currently living in Indonesia. So well, thank you very much for having me, and well, I hope this is the first of many sessions.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much. And Ami, and let's see, Ami, okay. And Annie.
Annie, you go ahead.
Annie,
Oh,
go ahead.
I wanted to thank Gail and everyone, all the presenters. I'm just blown away by your wisdom and compassion and hope that you've given all of us, and joy, actually. And so I just wanted to thank you all. It seemed like only 10 minutes went and we were almost done. So that's a good presentation. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Annie. And Ami.
Yeah, thank you so much for all of you. I just pointed out the one term that Winnie was mentioning about the need to evolutionary shift into integral consciousness. And recently, I've been reading Jean Gebser, and his concept of the mutation of consciousness is just like mind-boggling. And I'm so grateful because all of you contributing to the acceleration of that mutation. We need to shift into that integral consciousness, really. So thank you so much for all of you.
Thank you, Ami. Oh, that was a great ending, a great closing statement that we are the mutation and we're contributing to the leap into integral. Thank you so much. So we will bring our time to a close. And as we close, we promise to have more sessions like this into the future to deepen our integral leap. And again, thank you, Bill, VTech, we make Bill our honorary brother of Earth. And Bill, we look forward to continuing to work with you and have you with us on the journey. Bill was a wonderful publisher, editor, and friend to work with. And a big thank you to all the contributors. So I had the privilege of editing all the pieces, and editing is a very intimate work because you really get into the mind and the spirit of each contributor. So I really thank each contributor for trusting me with the editing of your pieces. And I learned so much, and the pieces were each and every one beautiful and contributory. And finally, I think we could thank you to Maria. And thank you to Maureen Wild for keeping the center of SOE and holding us together. So thank you, Maureen, for everything you do, and to the core committee as well for bringing this session forward. So, and thank you to Thomas Berry. So we thought that we would end with just with a prayer of intention. So I'm just going to share my screen. And then Maria, I think, am I able to share? Yeah, I am. Okay, so I will go here. So we want to just invite us to pour our intentions together into the universe as we end our night together. Let's join our hands, link our hands one to another. And I'm going to play a little music. And if you need to move on, you can just feel free. Otherwise, let's stay together and pour the best of our intentions out into the universe as we end together. Good night, everyone, or good morning. Everyone can unmute. Just say goodbye to each other if you'd like on your way out.
Take care
Thank
all.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye,
so
thank
much.
you. Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Gail,
Bye-bye.
thank you,
Bye
Maureen.
now.